So this week we've got filling in. Tony's away doing pre-season. He's getting right stuck in. He'll be away from his phone, be away from all things Sorare, get focused on the season ahead and getting sharp. We've got Sojiba filling in on this episode of the End Product Podcast, and joining us as always, of course, is Stish. Welcome to episode 10, the End Product Podcast, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Honoured to be here.
Little transfer window before the season starts. Let's see how you get on roll. Tony won't be too pleased if you kick him out of the pad.
The transfer window has been absolutely destroying people's galleries over the last 48 hours. It feels like, I think the latest one was, what was it, Sorare going to Torino or something like that in Italy from Salzburg. And it's, every day the tweets are coming now and things are changing.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's hard. I was messaging Perez earlier today because I saw he picked up Piakowski, the 21-year-old centre back at Salzburg, and I've had my eye on that player for a while. He's been in my watch list, but he's been too much rotational fodder for the last season. So I was thinking, he might get in, but then I saw they let a couple of centre backs go. But the talk was that he would still be playing second fiddle to those. But now that Solé looks like he's on his way, he's certainly got to be in with a shout of starting. So I've been trying to pick one of those up. His price has gone almost like quadruple in a day. And Solé's been on the opposite end. I think Pires was saying he had to let his Solé go cheaply. I think anyone who's been listening to John Nellis's podcast of late will have some sympathy for him. I imagine he's trying to shift that super rare he spent all his money on recently.
It's like he's got one of those Yaya Toure witch curses on him,
Yeah.
Everything is just going on there now. What about you, Sojiba? Have you had any transfer damage to your gallery, or what's been going on with you?
I feel like it's an exclusively, maybe not exclusively, but a U23 problem, particularly at the moment, because doesn't John have a Zion Fleming as well? Just desperate to hear where he goes to see if the curse continues, but not for me particularly because I don't have as many U23s, if many at all. So and what I'm playing really at the moment is Asia, so I don't have too much going on in that department.
That's useful. Yeah, I mean, this is the pain with U23s, isn't it? Because they're the most likely to move clubs, especially, and not just move clubs, but move divisions as well. So going from challenger to champ to become to go from being the top dog at their club to being a rotation or someone who might get sent out on loan somewhere not covered, or there's so much. These are the worries, and I guess that is the thing. U23s being so expensive, but they do come with the biggest risk as well.
It's a nightmare, and also those scouts that are analysing real teams. The people that we're probably analysing the same data that lots of Sorare managers are analysing too, and realising that these guys are really good players and they want to add to their squads. So naturally that they're going to want to get them in their teams.
That's it, yeah. Trying to get them in early is half the fun, isn't it? But that's the thing, is you have to have so much patience with those U23 bargains as well, because you do find you pick them up and you could be sat with them in your gallery for 2 seasons before they even start seeing game time. And that I've definitely got a few of those in my gallery where I bought hoping they'd play. But I'm looking at another season. I was looking at Ulysses Lanes, the US US men's team, and he went to, was it Wolfsburg? And then they sent him on loan to Heerenveen, where he didn't really get a look in, and then he's been sent on loan to the Austrian Bundesliga too. And I found out, I was waiting to see what was going to happen with him at the end of the season. I was kind of hoping he might go back to America, maybe a little loan there. But no, he's going to be back out on loan in Bundesliga 2 again next season. So it's another year of no utility that I'm going to have to sit on. But this is the game you play with U23s, really. I mean, it doesn't stop me. I'm looking at what I'm bidding on now, and I've got bids lodged for Vic Chambert, who's the third choice goalkeeper at Genk. In a couple of seasons when Van der Valk moves and Leysen becomes number 1, this kid's likely to be the next in line. Leysen might not be there for long if he has a good season at Genk. So this is the long game that we play. And I think U23, that's half the game, isn't it, really? It's quite interesting, actually, Sergio, we're talking to you, because you're one of the few people, I think, in the sort of content podcasts space that doesn't play U23. Is this part of your thinking, just to avoid all of these headaches, or?
No, well, when I started, I actually played under 23 limited. It was my base. But I started in the mid-season, so all the U23 players were well established. So I was picking up like Chouameni and Schlotterbeck and these players that were killing it, and I sold them off because I wanted to move towards rares. And obviously, rare U23 is a completely different ballgame to limited U23. So it's mainly a budget thing, really. The reason I'm not playing it, it's not for want of not wanting to play it, it's because it's just not in my wheelhouse.
I hear that. And what's your kind of like transfer strategy at the moment? What are you looking for? Are you strengthening? Are you selling? Like what are you going
I've
with
actually
at the minute?
taken advantage of ETH dropping and picked up more and gone back to limited. So I've just expanded from playing exclusively rares now back to limiteds as well. So I'm playing both, and I've picked up basically a whole squad of Challenger, Champ, Europe, and Americas, just because I could and I wanted to, and it's more fun. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. Limited's a completely different area, so I'm not looking at super rares or anything like that.
Completely. And I think for the upcoming season, like everyone's trying to prep and do like, you know, the flow charts of how many goalkeepers have I got, how many divisions can I cover, this, that, and the other thing. But as we all kind of know from seasons gone past already, like the biggest thing is having engagement. And like I've been buying more limiteds as well for like underdog and specialists and that sort of thing. But with limiteds, you really can, for the most part, you know, with any kind of mean average budget, you would say on Sorare, you can kind of get most of the time what you want at limiteds in terms of like your favorite guys, the guys you can watch every week and whatever. And take opportunities whenever they come, man. Buzzing to hear that, and that sounds like fun as well for next season. Getting back on the wagon with all the limited teams. So that sounds fun. I think as well, Stish, what you were saying with the under 23s is like my problem with them is like I'm an eternal optimist, if you know what I mean. So like whenever these players do get moves, I'm always like, see that Soleil thing. I was in the chat with John and Hendo, and I was like, it might not be that bad. Like, you know, Torino, like Torino are decent, and you know, like he could get some good scores. He might be defending for his life at Torino. You know, like it might be
that's
okay.
a good shout. It's a
But
really
like,
good point.
but it is a complete sea change. You know, he's at Salzburg. You're not going to concede more than 18 goals a season, you know, and you're going to get all the passes in the world and everything else, you know, versus being, you know, mid to bottom end Serie A. It's a different experience.
I think that's
So I
the
get
scary
that.
bit, isn't it? You've got that
Yeah.
potential relegation there as well, if that does happen. I mean, a player like that you wouldn't expect to get kept if they did go down. But like you said, he's going to pick up a lot of defensive actions. But I think the main thing is, especially in U23, is the stacks. I find like you're playing against the big stacks, and I think a lot of people have priced that into the Salzburg players over the summer break. So
Agreed.
this is why players like Soleil have gone to the prices that they have, because he's got that L5 of about 70 or something stupid. He had a really strong finish to the season, which puts him at the top of everyone's like to buy list at the moment, which pushed him right up, because I think a lot of people look at Salzburg as a potential stack, especially with Ajax looking like they're going to be broken into pieces. People are looking at Salzburg, myself included, like, you know, looking at the Salzburg stack as a lot of U23 players, Champions League football, dominant in their division at home. So it's like, yeah, I can see why his price went to where it was, but it's amazing seeing how far it's coming down, considering we're just still in that sort of speculation zone. It's mad. It's like it's almost half price today on the news of this Torino talk. So be interesting to see if it goes through. And like
And
I
it
said,
is just talk at this stage, isn't it?
it is, yeah. But people have reacted so quickly on the market. It is amazing to see that happen, and I think that has made it doubly difficult to pick up those kind of players who did have a strong finish to last season. At the moment, their prices don't seem to have dipped at all, and with the ETH dip, you know, it's really hard to work out what is a good deal or not. But I'm finding, any of those sort of players that maybe were a little bit better in the middle of the season, picked up an injury, or maybe got rotated towards the end of the season because the teams weren't playing for anything anymore.
Yep.
They're the players that you can pick up at some kind of bargain at the moment, especially with the ETH price where it is. So there's definitely been some gems. I've been trying to pick up bargains where I can spot them. But I don't really know what I need anymore. You know, it's like, sometimes I ask myself, am I buying for the sake of buying? And I think it's hard to stop. You got a bit of an ETH balance, and the prices are where they are all over the place at the moment. Sometimes it's so tempting to just go and spend loads of money. Like, how do you two manage? when
I
to buy
think
and when not to.
I find that I go through little spells of like I want to either gather lots of ETH through churning or through like selling stuff into the market, or I go through periods of I want to like fatten the gallery up a bit again, And like I've definitely made a big move towards like leaning everything over the last like 2 to 8 months, it feels like. But like I was saying earlier with limiteds, like they're so cheap and the utility you can gain from them in underdogs and weeklies as well as like all the main divisions. I think it's great bang for buck. And again, the limited market is just the safest place to be operating at the moment. Like it's one of these things we've all kind of, I think it's been touched on in a few different places, but like you've seen with all these big accounts that are like buying galleries and now, like I sold a wedge, a cards for a lot of money, and these guys are still on Discord, like still buying up lots of galleries because they see like locking some guys, and this is just people's opinions, but you can tell by their trading behavior, they value locking money into cards, whether it be ETH or any sort of fiat, whatever they're playing with, as a credible store of value for them over the longer term. And when you see those accounts, like really, like they bought super rares and stuff off me, but when you look at the sort of limiteds they buy, it is all top of the food chain characters, and those guys are like the biggest, I think, probably commodity in the market if you want to trade your way up through the game. Like Soji was talking about, like how expensive U23 rare is. Like if you can get your hands on a couple of like through winning and stuff or through active trading, a couple of really tasty tier 1 to star limiteds, you'll maybe find an opportunity for a trade that will come your way where it's like you're throwing these limiteds against a rare and you're getting a card that you're like, oh wow, I would never have imagined that I could have got a guy that caliber into my club, because the limiteds are so liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Gio, have you had much like how's your kind of like success rate been with limiteds? That's one thing that kind of put me off a little bit, and I sold a few of my higher tier limiteds over the summer just to kind of, firstly to lean down, but also I just didn't really have the success. How have you found playing in the limited divisions?
Well, when I first started, it was exclusively limiteds, and I was winning a lot, but it was very competitive, and I soon found that I was having trouble competing, and I wanted to move up to rares, and I had a big enough balance to justify it. You're right; it's hard to win at the very top, but if you win consistently, tier 1s, tier 2s, you're still selling that for a small amount and still generating something from it. So it's something that can supplement your thresholds as well, for relatively cheap. And obviously people they play limiteds and that's it, and people who play rares and that's it. But if you can play both, you can supplement your gallery that way too. The reason I've gotten back into it now is what Quinny was saying. There's underdogs, there's specialists that wasn't around when I started, and that's a big game changer. And also I realized I wanted to still have a foot in the game in the European season, and I didn't have enough cards to play that for rares. So just having that to be able to have some skin in the game is important too for me.
Yeah.
I actually had a question for you too. Was it, from memory, this time last year, was it as hectic with the transfer rumors and the market activity as it is at the moment? Because it feels crazy.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. What do you put that down to, Quinny? Is it because we've just got more cards now?
I think
just
it's
so much more to watch.
I think it's like a little combination of three things. I think it's one of those things that when you're aware of something, you notice it. Like you don't notice Austrian transfer rumours before the Austrian league comes on and gets cards, for example, even if it is Salzburg, even all the other stuff we notice. I think in real world football, a lot of teams have been nervous to spend money because of COVID and lockdowns and stadiums and all that kind of stuff. So even though there has been transfer business, it's not been like frivolous or gung ho or whatever. It's been quite controlled for the most part. As a generalization, of course. And what was the third one? It was kind of in line with that second one about clubs and stuff. But yeah, like just COVID, there's more kind of freedom of movement now. There's less restrictions on like people want to just stay in like bubbles and zones, and it feels like more of that normality of travel and transport's also kind of coming into it as well. So that's kind of the two things are most the one, I suppose.
Yeah,
post-COVID.
It definitely does feel a lot busier, a lot more frantic. Like it felt like we had the calm before the storm during the international break. There wasn't too much dealing going on, but as soon as the international break sort of come to a close, this last week or so has been insane. Like I'm missing so much. It just out of nowhere there'll be like a news like literally like broadcast that someone's moved somewhere, And you think, well, I didn't even hear that they were in talks or they were looking at that player. Whereas I don't feel like it was like that before. You kind of knew about a transfer for weeks before it was going to happen. And there's been a lot in the last few weeks where they just come out of nowhere, completely unexpectedly. And I'm just hoping some of my cards get a good move, because Lord knows we've had a few of these game changer or game breaker moves recently. I did manage to actually, since the last podcast, I sold my Darwin Núñez. I decided to let him go. We were talking on this the other week, and it was we were looking at these. Someone had bought him for 3.2 ETH, and then there was a couple of sales at like 2.9. So after the podcast last week, I listed him for like 3, I think it was, which made him one of the cheaper ones on the market, but it was like price to sell. And I had a few conversations. In the end, I let him go for 2.5, which in hindsight is quite low compared to what he's gone for since. But I didn't know what was going to happen with it. I think ETH had taken a little bit of a drop again since. So in terms of fiat, it's probably about the same as what I sold at. But yeah, I'm still in two minds. I think Darwin will be a good player next season. But the value for me in selling that was like 2.9 ETH. I can probably get another really good champ forward and still have some money in the bank. But yeah, it's hard to let go of cards like that. But then the news came yesterday of Minamino moving to Monaco, which gives me, in my opinion, a really good option as a forward for champ. I see him as a strong player in that side. I don't know about you two. Like, what are your thoughts on that Minamino move? Do you think I hold, or do you think I sell now?
Well, if you're playing him, I'd definitely hold. I think you're right. I think he fits well into that team. He'll definitely get game time. He's a good player. Think about his cup runs for Liverpool. He was useful, and I think he's a great card, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad of that move. I think the French league will suit his style of play a bit more, and like Monaco play good attacking football, and I can see him sitting kind of like just off the main striker. I don't see him being like the target of that team, but it's going to be interesting to see how he slots in, and definitely feel like at the moment he's one that I'm going to hold. I've had a lot of offers come in for him, obviously, since the news broke, but we're talking about like 0.15 ETH. Like, he's worth way more than that, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that, he slots in there and I don't have to go to the market and buy another champ forward, because I do have some quite good champ options for next season, or at least I think I do, until the season starts and they're all benched. But yeah, I think
Minamino's a good shout for next season at Monaco, because like the thing with Monaco is the main striker being Ben Yedder. Like, Ben Yedder's like a proper like finisher, in the last 20 yards of the pitch or whatever. So if you're going to be playing as a wide forward with a guy like that, you've got every opportunity to get an assist if that's the guy you're passing the ball to. He can take a touch and find a shot, or you win a penalty, he will score it. Like he's
true.
A good striker to be paired with.
I actually recorded a video today, and I was doing some scouting, and Ben Yedder has one of the highest goal conversion rates, 30%.
He's clinical.
He is clinical.
Talking about goal conversion rates, I picked up what I think is a bargain this week. I picked up Finn Stockers, who moved from RKC Warwick to Go Ahead Eagles. And that was my pickup on that, was based on non-SO5 performance stats. So goal conversion, like shots on target, converting into goals. And I was reading I think it was like a Twitter post or something by statistician who has like these like models he's built, and he looks really high on the sort of like striking performance model. So I had a little look at him. I noticed that there wasn't too much movement in the market, so maybe his like his transfer had still gone under the radar a little bit. But because he was at a not a particularly sexy club and he's moved to another not particularly sexy club, I just thought, let me have a little look at like the way that side plays and what kind of chances he's going to be getting. And I've watched Go Ahead Eagles a couple of times last season when they played against Ajax and PSV, and they were surprisingly good against Ajax. We watched them. I think they held them for quite a long time until Ajax eventually did like get the breakthrough. But one thing I noticed about the way they played against Ajax was they were extremely good on the counter-attack. And if you've got a front man who can finish, quick counter-attack, the whole point of that is get the ball to your striker as quickly as possible. So I felt quite good about that move. I thought, let me have a look at his price. saw a super rare on the market for 0.3 that someone had bought the day previous. So I put in a couple of offers to holders of 0.3 and I got one accepted. And I was more than happy with a 0.3 challenger forward, 25 years old, likely to be the main guy for them next season. So yeah, I love looking into those, like the stats that, like, especially when it comes to stuff that's maybe not as visible on SO5 performance, because everyone can go on Sorare data and spot the big scorers, but little moves like that, and like his L5 is still quite high, but he's just not at any of those clubs that are really being watched. So high hopes for him next season. I don't know. Has either of you bought any players that you're hoping for a big sort of improvement, a big uptick next season?
I picked up a guy on my anniversary, a little rookie called Martin Picar. Now, this guy is a pure... it cost me £23 for a rare, which I thought was incredible, for a little guy. He's also got rookie cards for Frankfurt this season. So he was like a little Frankfurt guy. And I think they picked him up when he was 15 from Austria Vienna. And then it's not worked out. They loaned him back to Austria Vienna last year. Then I think he got injured. He never really played. But they decided to activate a buy option, so they've kept him. He's got the shirt number 11. And then the articles I was reading about him, it's I can't pronounce the guy's name, but it's Asimovic or something. He's like a mad Slovenian legend. He's like the guy's agent. He's like, he's pure buzzing to get this guy back playing. And some other guy, when he was at the youth team and he was at 15, some other legend of the club pure loves him and all the rest of it, yada yada. Wee cheeky under 23 mid that might play in a special weekly or something like that, or whatever. Yeah. But his actual position is a left winger. He plays on the wing, as an attacker. So a wee cheeky midfield card. It's a absolute speculation. The only other thing I've got next to that is Vinicius Souza, which I think everyone's probably sick of hearing about because he's linked to everyone. And apparently he's just hiding out in Brazil at the moment, just taking his time, chilling out, waiting for all the offers to roll in, and then he'll put all his cards on the table and see the best offer, I think.
Where do you think he ends up, Quinny?
I'm biased. I think Celtic, but I think if Ajax call, he answers. Ooh. Because they've had a lot of good Brazilians. That'll be coming. Neres has just went to somebody recently. Was it Benfica?
Yep.
Anthony's leaving, of course, now, and coming in and playing Ajax football before the World Cup and all the rest of it. When because what you're offering players at this level, if you're Celtic, Ajax, Fenerbahce, whoever else goes in for them, is we will get you to the top end of football. Play for us for 2 years and then you will move to the biggest and best teams in the world. That's the pitch from all those teams, Celtic have probably got the driving seat in that standpoint for getting you into the Prem, because if you play for us for 2 years, you will get to the Prem, almost guaranteed. It might be Brighton or something if you don't totally set the world alight. But if you're at Ajax, if you're at Fenerbahce, these teams sell to Real Madrid, they sell to Juventus, they sell to the big teams in Europe. So it's kind of, what path does he want to go to England? Because if he does, then he'll pick us all day, I think. And if he's maybe a bit more fancying himself in La Liga or Serie A or something, maybe he goes to Fenerbahce.
I think there's not really, considering who he's being linked to at the moment, there's not really a bad move on the table, is there? He's, for him, in terms of all of the kind of speculation, you'd take any of those moves as a holder.
You could even just go to Bruges, see if you wanted to be a lazy git and just stay in Belgium bossing it. You could just go to Bruges because they want him. But then being at Bruges, they can sell to anyone in Europe as well, because that's what they do,
His scores actually dropped off at the end of the last season in SO5 terms. He wasn't as powerful as he was a couple of months ago. But I think you're right. I think he's, wherever he goes, he's going to absolutely kill it if the rumours are true. None of those are bad rumours.
Yeah.
Yeah, he puts up massive scores with very few decisives as well, looking at
he's a U23 mid as well, so he's got that extra bit of fairy dust on top for whenever the move does happen and it's known.
He's got another season left, hasn't he? I've just noticed he's on Sorare as well. Didn't realise that.
Vinicius
he plays
Souza?
Sorare.
Oh, the actual guy? Oh, does he? Oh, yeah. Wow. Does he got a player card then?
He hasn't got
gallery
He hasn't got any cards. Oh, wait, no, he has got. He's got his player card and nothing else at the moment. He's just playing with the commons.
Huh.
But yeah, he does have his card.
Did he get his signed card and then sell it and then leave?
That's not even training it.
Yeah, he's still got it by looks of things. This is his only card, so he's not playing anything outside of the common league. But it doesn't look like he's even been playing that, actually, because he hasn't won a card for 5 months, and it looks like he's just got the commons you get when you sign up.
Yeah.
So I don't think he plays. He's just sat on his card. Maybe we just send him a cheeky offer.
That's what I'm just thinking, by the way. I'm thinking about sending him a cheeky offer of like
He's
a
forgotten
trade
his
for
login.
like the one I've got, and then like I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he would bite? See if I sent him an offer of like a Brazilian guy that he'd maybe like. I don't know,
Ooh,
Casemiro or something. Casemiro and himself. And he goes, "Oh, I've got
yeah.
Casemiro. That might work. How much is a Casemiro?"
Maybe you tempt him with the offer of an SO5 lineup that's worth a few.
I've tried that before. These guys, I don't think they really bite on that
Nah,
stuff.
they're not
They're all
interested in
different,
playing
obviously,
again.
but I've tried that before, sending like a full, like under 23 team or something.
You could maybe like
it works.
send him a little team, but then like you can get on Discord because Gaetan Cook, his teammate, plays SO5, and he
really?
uses Discord. You get him on Discord and be like, give Vinicius a little nudge.
Aye,
Just
give
let
him
him
a
know,
nudge.
send him a cheeky offer. See if he wants to
Aye.
play a bit of SO5 next season.
He's probably waiting for his signing bonus to upload some ETH or
Yeah,
get some funds on the account.
That'll be it. He'll be joining Griezmann.
yeah. I've noticed quite a few players. I sold a card actually to Davy Klassen not long ago.
Oh, cool. Who?
I sold a card to Davy Klassen. He bought my
Was it a
Who did he
Stecklenburg?
buy? My Mazraoui. He bought my Mazraoui card when he'd like moved to Bayern recently.
Oh, yeah, right.
So he sold one of my Mazraouis to him. I still got another one. I had two Mazraoui. Picked him up while he was out injured a little while ago with that eye injury that kept him out for a while. And I managed to get an absolute steal on the second one. That's the only reason I bought a second. I was sat in my car just looking at auctions, and he was like finishing soon. And I think I paid like 0.18 for him, which was about 400 quid at the time, something like that. I've kept hold of one because I feel like if he slots in at Bayern, he could become a huge card next season.
I think he's going to be.
I do have too many. I have too many defender options for Champ though, way too many. That's why I sold one of them. I need
Defenders
to.
one of these positions that you very quickly get too many of because you don't really need to cover for a lot of them because if they play, they're going to play. There's not much rotation with like nailed on defenders. So as long as they're fit or not suspended, how many do you really need becomes the issue. I have that as well.
The thing with defenders as well is I think there's a lot of defenders obviously on the platform because most clubs have a lot of defenders, but also I find that like the reward pools, if you're not hitting the sort of like top 4 or 5 where you're going to get a tier 0, but those tier 0s might be the strikers, like the big name tier 0s. If you hit the bottom end of those tier 0s, tier 1s, you've got a really good defender. So I've won like Gvardiol, I won Bonucci, I won who else have I won? Loads. Kimpembe. I've won so many big name defenders from the sort of champ pool or the under 23 pool that like I've just not quite banged hard enough on the right week to win like an Mbappe or a Haaland or like something a little bit flashier, something a bit more expensive. So I just won loads of champ defenders and I've just ended up with way too many of them now. But in terms of like slimming down, that's definitely like the main part of my gallery. I'm sure if anyone did a gallery review of my cards would tell me I've got way too many champ defenders, but it hasn't been without trying to sell some of them. It's just, like as much as they score really well, you don't quite get the prices that you want for them, probably because they're defenders and people just don't feel like they want to pay for them unless they are like one of the top 3 on the platform.
Defenders are one of the ones that I always feel like the guy's worth way more than this. Like he's a really good player. Like, but it's like some of these, especially fullbacks, like they've got that jeopardy of an orange or a crap score that does like handicap them. Like Brooks Lennon, for example, in MLS. Like if you look at Brooks Lennon, takes tons of set pieces, gets into the box all the time, and he's priced like he's a turd. Like he's not priced well at all, but he's really good. And actually, so Jiwa, you've just picked up some Atlanta action.
I picked up a whole stack of those limiteds for like $10 a pop. So Brooks Lennon was like $9 or something.
Wow.
Class.
I love defenders. I just love the consistency sometimes. Maybe not so much the fullbacks, obviously, because of the scoring matrix. But if you get a good centre back, he is solid. You can plug him in, and he is going to provide good scores. And then you supplement with great attacking midfielders or strikers, and you're onto a winner.
Definitely.
I wish I had that problem of having too many.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like for the ETH grinding as well. If you're gonna if you're just entering sort of all-star rare to try and win some ETH, putting 2 centre backs in that team is like the best sort of like base for like getting to that 250. It's
Exactly.
always
And
like,
in Asia, you can pick up some bargains too. There's some amazing defenders.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think like in Asia, that's the one position in Asia where they don't rotate much. I find the centre backs. If you got the solid centre backs in the J League particularly, but also in the K League, most teams don't mess about with their centre backs. The rest of the team is like anyone's guess on any game week. But the one thing I do find with like my Asia players is my defenders tend to be pretty nailed on. Apart from Eduardo, who is anyone's guess this season, but I think he's out injured at the minute. But even when he's not injured, he will randomly turn up on a bench when you're expecting him to start and take free kicks and boss the game. But I just wish he'd go back to Seigan Tosu and start bossing things again. Like since he moved to Yokohama, he's not been as useful, to say the least. But yeah, defenders. If you're looking for a bargain, if you're like advising anyone to like pick up an ETH grinding team, 2 centre backs, probably from Asia, maybe from America as well. I think there's still some bargains there. In terms of challenger, I still think that Austria is massively undervalued, apart from Salzburg. Everywhere outside of Salzburg, you can pick up massive bargains, I find. Like Austria, Vienna, Rapid. There's still some good competitive sides there that are going to beat most teams most weekends. It's just like it doesn't have that.
I think what holds those teams back is like even though the better ones that are in Europe, they don't have like that because they're so by comparison to other divisions. The Austrian division has like very little matches, and it's very annoying how it's all kind of panned out. Mm-hmm. So I think like it's a really big handicap on not being Salzburg and not being like a factory of players that will get sold into the biggest teams in Europe. But
this is true.
But even when those guys are in Europe, like they're not going to be spanking teams like Salzburg when they're in Champions League. Like they gave everyone they got to the quarterfinals last year or something.
An amazing run.
Yeah. Salzburg are not any mugs in Europe. So and these other teams might be. They might actually be really terrible in Europe if they get a bad group or something. So with the fixtures, some of them are cheap, but you need them to pay off for them to be cheap. If you get me.
Also, definitely. Belgium and Turkey are great leagues for centre backs. Like you can find some good bargains there too.
Definitely. And another thing as well is like we've got the World Cup coming up this season, and you can pick up centre backs from those divisions who also play for like their international sides in the breaks. I definitely picked up a few sort of from the Turkish league who were playing in like the Albanian team, the Georgian side, North Macedonia, those kind of clubs that like in the international break actually do pretty well and are competing at a high level, like surprisingly, maybe not so much at the finals, but in all of the like qualifying games that are covered, those players are actually really, really useful to have in those breaks. When if you do have a 5-person team that you can put out, you can actually win rewards in those breaks where a lot of people were sat on the sidelines, maybe only able to field a team with 3 players unless they want to push the boat out and fill those gaps, which maybe they would do on the limited. But in rares and supers, if you've got 5 players that play for their international sides, those breaks can be like really rewarding in terms of actual rewards, like winning rewards. Yeah, and I've definitely had some of my best wins, I think, in the international breaks. I think during the Euros I was fortunate because there wasn't too many teams that had cards. So when we were getting towards the end of the tournament, I had French players, I had Italians, I had English players. There was only 2, I think there was Trippier and Declan Rice, well maybe the 2 English players that had cards. But coming towards the end of that tournament when there's only 3 or 4 teams left in, if you can field any team, you are definitely getting close to the rewards or winning. And I think during the last Euros, they launched obviously the French and German international cards and the Belgian ones. And one week, I was trying to justify buying Manuel Neuer because I had 4 outfield players who I thought would do well, but I had to use a common goalie, and I thought if I buy a rare goalkeeper, I will be leagues ahead of everyone who's playing with a common in this division. And they had a special on where I think like the top 20 positions also got a super rare. Anyway, I decided to not buy a Neuer, and if I had bought a Neuer, I'd have finished second, and I would have won a Pogba super rare. It makes me think about the World Cup already. I don't know how many people out there listening are already thinking, but what about you, Sue? You buying for the World Cup yet?
Honestly, I'm not really considering it. I don't really look into international football too much because I find that the game weeks are so infrequent, and we've only got one more international break until the World Cup. And then I'm thinking, am I going to buy these cards specifically for 3 games and a couple of game weeks in December, and then that's it? Probably not. But if I have a card that does have international utility, great, but it's not something that I actually actively consider when I'm picking up a card, because it's just nothing that I'm really going to consider. I think it's a great point that if you can plan for it, and hey, if you're able to field a team when very few managers are, and you're able to pick up rewards, that's fantastic and good for you. But it's not something I really pay attention to. I'm not sure about you, Quinny.
I've been kind of talking about it for a little while, and I actually just want to check something, because I know I've known for the longest time that I'm like pretty much a goalkeeper short, and I just want to double check everyone who did qualify in the end. Yes, I do. I've actually got like South Korea confirmed. Yes, so as long as that Kim Sung-gyu, who's now went to Saudi Arabia, as long as he stays career number 1, I'll have a goalkeeper. So what my advice has kind of been in general with this, and what I'm probably now going to do now that all the teams are in, I think all the qualifications are done. I think we just had the last bout of it there, didn't we, in that window? Yep. So you can see exactly who's got all the fixtures and everything. So I'm probably just going to see like, am I short whenever that goalkeeper's playing, because everything's going to revolve around him, because I'm not going to go and get an Alisson for 12 ETH or whatever. Or, Spain, the goalkeeper's not determined. Courtois is expensive enough. Portugal, you think it's Costa, it could be empty really. And there's a few anyway, so I'm going to revolve around my goalkeeper, and like, if I need a striker to fill in, which I probably won't, so I've got like Werner, and so I'll probably have a hodgepodge. I'm just going to check the match days, because as we know with Sorare, the game weeks are determined. We don't need to think, how are they going to do the game weeks? It's probably just going to keep running the way it is running, in terms of like Tuesday to Friday, or Tuesday to Thursday, and Friday to Monday kind of idea. So it's just about bunching up the fixtures and saying, all right, well, I've got 3 guys that play game week 356 and 358 or whatever. What do I need for those 2? I need a mid, right? I need a mid. Let's go get a mid who's playing there as well, who can afford, who's good, who's nailed. That'll be the maximum I do. I'm not going to go build a team for it.
See, that's my issue with it for the World Cup in general. Like, guys with larger galleries like yourselves are able to plan for it. But if you've got a smaller gallery, are you really going to plan for a 2-week period where there's 3 games in the group stages? Probably not, because then it's all over, and then what are you going to do? Yeah,
you need to look into a goalkeeper, I think.
Exactly.
Definitely. Krapal is a Canada number 1, or is it the guy still at Belgrade? I forget. I'm just looking at the team. Some of the number 1s don't need to be that expensive, but I don't think all of them are available. Like Senegal, it'll be Mendy at Chelsea, won't it? Ecuador, I don't think that guy's got a card. Something's telling me. Iran,
Australia,
a card.
Australia made the qualification recently, didn't they? And they've got Matt Ryan, who's like second fiddle at Sociedad. He might be cheap to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
But
Denmark will be Kasper Schmeichel, Tunisia, God knows. Anyway. So I'm
just looking now at what I've got, and I'm
the limiteds you could do. You could easily go get some of these guys at limiteds, because that might be where all the action is in terms of any special competitions and giveaways and whatever.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I do have a Matt Ryan limited. I've got Philip Cohn, but did Switzerland qualify? I don't know. I can't actually remember. I haven't seen the full. I haven't got it in front of me.
I wouldn't be betting on Australia to keep a clean sheet. So
no. No, but in terms of being able to have a team, I might have him. I've got Nuruddin, who is in amongst the Ghanaian squad, but I don't think he starts. So, in terms of res and supers, I don't think I have. I have players who will go with the squad, like Joe Hyun-woo. He's played a couple games for Korea in goal recently, but just a friendlies. Kevin Trapp in Germany, he's going to be with the squad, but he's definitely not going to get in ahead of Neuer. So unless someone gets injured, I mean, the only other potential rogue one, I've got Acevedo. Did Mexico qualify? I don't know if they did they? Or did they?
Mexico are in, yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's started for the national team yet, but their goalkeepers are all in their late 30s, so...
Everything on Google Images is missing the playoff winners. I've not got an image for the actual playoff winners put in their pots.
Yeah, I mean, it's... The other one... Obviously, I have Safanov, who is an international goalkeeper, but Russia are nowhere near it because of the situations that they've caused themselves. But beyond that, Okoye, Nigeria didn't qualify. So, I've got Talavera.
I've got a list.
He'll go with the Mexican squad, but I think Ochoa is probably going to continue to be the number 1 in the Mexican side. So, yeah, I'm like looking at it
Switch
now.
something
Am I
in.
going to go? Unless I go out and buy a goalkeeper, it's like I'm going to be using commons, and how many people are going to be doing that? I don't know what kind of differential I'm going to have available there.
Well, no
And
one's
like I
going to
said,
be using common keepers by that point.
Oh, true. That won't even be a thing anymore, will it? Unless they make it special.
Special free
They
click.
might do a special.
Yeah, they could well do that.
But yeah,
Never know.
I agree. I think like going out to buy a goalkeeper for the World Cup is an expense you don't really need, considering they might only play 3 games.
I think if they fit your gallery elsewhere, if you're going to play them in a division, great. And if they have the World Cup utility, that's great. It's great too. But going out specifically to buy one is probably not the right play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love a Diogo Costa, but I'm not paying the money that people are asking for that just to have a bit of World Cup fun in my back pocket.
Joe Hart will go to the World Cup.
Not the football one. I don't know what else he's good at.
It might be a pundit.
Yeah, he might be a pundit. Yeah, bless him. I mean, Celtic have been active in the goalkeeper market. Do you think Joe Hart is a potential rotation risk next season?
Nah, Siegrist is firmly like a number 2, I think, because like whenever I've spoken about Hart, I don't know if I did it on the podcast or on the channel or whatever, but like I think the coming season he's undisputed number 1. There's maybe a wee bit of room for some sort of, can we now replace you the season after that? Maybe do a wee bit of, rotation in and out or whatever. And then beyond that, I think it's reasonable to expect we have a replacement. So I think you've got 2 solid enough years out of him at this point. And signing a Siegrist, I don't think changes that. Siegrist might play like League Cups and stuff like that, which doesn't SO5 scored anyway, so I don't care.
I actually almost went out and bought a Celtic limited stack today, Quinny.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
I weighed it up and it was like a 0.9 ETH to create the stack, and it was a 0.3 stack for the Atlanta, and Joe Hart was 0.3 for a limited. So I was like, there's no chance. Wow. Sorry.
Yeah.
I would have loved to, but no chance.
It's economic.
Which players did you go for in your Atlanta stack?
I actually didn't pick up the keeper based on Quinny's advice because they've just signed a new keeper and I wasn't sure about who was going to be the playing keeper. So I've gone for, I actually bought a whole bunch of the Atlanta team just in general, but I went for, what's his face, the defender. I picked up Brooks Lennon, but I'm going to play Franco, Moreno with Martinez and Araujo up top, and then Amani in goal from River Plate as my America limited. Just whack it in there and see how it does.
Pretty tasty stack, that. I like the idea of having a few like limited options in terms of stacks, especially if you've got one of the better sides. Like Atlanta are a good side, and if you've got the River in the mix as well, you're laughing really. That's something absolutely. I definitely lack in my like limited collection. I've got just a complete scattergun, and I think part of that is down to me filling in gaps for like challenger like specials and weekly underdogs and stuff like that, where you'll just pick up one player who's really cheap just to like make sure you've got an option to field. But I sold a few good limiteds, but I've got a Moreno. Moreno's a great card. I've got a few. I think I like about limiteds as well is you might pick up a bargain for one of these underdogs, and then once you've got them in like your teams, it's so much easier to track like their performance where you might not have even looked at them before. So it's often like I'll win a limited or I'll pick up a really cheap one and then think, wow, this kid's banged in 60 plus in the last 3 games. I should pick a rare up before people have clocked him. And I think that's another good thing about having those underdogs and those specialists is it does open your eyes up to a lot of the bargains that can be had out there. And you can apply the same sort of thinking to rares, supers, whatever. It is a really good. I've been a massive advocate of those like new game modes they've tested out. Have either of you got involved in the special Threekly?
Nah, I'm not bothered.
No, not yet.
To be honest,
not too bothered. I think I've chucked teams in there. If I had like 3 players, I think I've got a special Threekly this week, but I don't think it did anything. In fact, I don't think I'm on for any rewards this week. Pretty sure
this week I've got no teams. There's like 4 games in Korea on or something. All stars even open.
I've just had a look. Yeah, my Asia Pro finished 70th, so well away from the action there. But I needed something big from Osmar and Joe Hyunwoo today, and within 6 minutes, Hyunwoo's clean sheet was gone, and I was pretty much like resigned to accepting I'm not going to win anything this week. Yeah, it's been like this for me for a few weeks now, to be honest. Like, I've been having a little look ahead, and one thing I did notice as well, I don't know if anyone else clocked this, but the Russian league starts very soon. July 16th, Russian fixtures are back. So only had like 2 or 3 weeks. Those Russian cards are going to have some utility. That came unexpectedly because I had it on my sort of like challenger calendar that Austria, Denmark, and the Swiss league were going to start first. But it looks like Russia are ahead of them as well. So
I think everyone has just mentally discounted Russia from the equation just because you never know what's going to happen with the whole thing. You know, like
I've not been following it much. It's hard because like no one seems to be transferring out of Russia either. You know, you're waiting for that kind of the moral. Are people going to buy players from Russian teams? Are people going to buy Russian players from Russian teams? You know, like the foreign players leaving Russian teams is almost like it kind of like falls into a different moral setting. Then
I think they've all had to like flee and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
You know, like they've all had to say, rip the contract up, I'm out of here, kind of thing. Whereas, like, I think, because it's getting money, because you can't give the clubs a transfer fee. No one's giving Russia money. You know, you can't send 50 million euros into Russia. Go, it's for a FIFA player. Oh, it's just for FIFA. Nothing bad will happen. Yeah.
This is it. It's a weird place. I mean, I've been obviously following Szymanski, and he's been rumoured to, first he was being rumoured to Sevilla, and now he's being rumoured to, I think it's Werder Bremen or a German side. And there's still nothing concrete there. And the season's starting in a couple of weeks, but he's announced at the end of last season he was leaving. So what's going to happen if he's still there in a couple of weeks? Like, he might actually end up in Moscow for another season. But I also noticed that this might even push the needle a bit further for him. Is I was reading in, I can't remember where I was reading it, but there's a Rebus who plays for Lokomotiv, Polish international as well. And he recently moved from Lokomotiv to Spartak, I believe, for next season. And he's getting a lot of shit in the press in Poland for us continuing to play in Russia. And apparently he's going to lose his place in the national side for it. And obviously Poland are going to the World Cup. Szymanski's just broken into like the national side. He's played the first couple of games, got a couple of assists under his belt. So he must be sweating. If Rebus is not going to go to the World Cup because he's playing in Russia, is Szymanski going to have to like push through a move himself? And there must be so many players in a similar predicament. I saw that Carrascal has moved officially from River to CSKA this week as well. So that was quite surprising. 5 million, I think they paid for him. I think he was on loan with an option, so they must have taken that option because he was playing there last season, wasn't he? But I haven't noticed too many transfers out of Russia. It's been hard to follow what's been going on over there.
How are they getting payment for those players? And are there players who are pushing for moves? Like for Szymanski, for instance, how are they going to pay for him? Does he have to terminate his contract, or is he going to wait his contract out and then move out? Like, I don't even know what his contract situation is.
I read something with one of the transfers, but it wasn't Szymanski, or I can't remember who it was, but the deal was, they were trying to put a deal together and it was like a promise to pay you. So it's like, it was a loan and it's like, well, if we're ever allowed to give you a transfer fee, we will, kind of idea. Or something like that. I don't think those deals materialised, but that was one of the rumours I heard.
Yeah.
He's contracted to 2026. So not anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been much communication. I would just assume that like until the war is over and like forgotten about for a little while, Russia are not going to be anywhere near any international football tournaments, sporting events. You know, like when is it going to be okay to let them back in? I can't see it happening for a long time. And then those players must be players that are out there that disagree with the war, must be just sitting waiting to see their contracts out at this stage, which is mad. And I'm hearing like there's lots of reports that like Krasnodar are going to like lose loads of money and they're going to go out of business and loads of things. I mean, it's going to be a really unusual season. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that the league structure changes out there as well. I'm pretty sure that they're expanding the league to 20 teams next season. They put another couple of teams up, I think.
Wow.
And there was also like a potential one of the clubs that's been promoted to not be promoted because their stadium's not up to scratch or something. It's going to be there's so much stuff going on out there. It's unreal at the minute. It's really hard to follow what happens next in that whole situation. How many of you are holding Russian players at the minute? Have you got many?
0.
None.
I think it's too volatile a situation to even consider, unfortunately. Like, there's obviously some great players out there, but it's too hard. I did have some in February and March when it all kicked off, and I was like, this is just too risky to hold on to these guys. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. I've just kind of annexed it in my mind. I don't really consider it even more. I don't look at those players anymore, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. I don't know about you, Quinny. Like, do you have any?
Same. No, I'm the same as you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've brought any new ones in, but I've definitely had a few pre the war that are still there, like Safanov and Diviv.
Mad old timer there.
Yeah.
Pre the war.
No, I got something from before the war, you know.
And then talk about Safanov, who's like a child still. But yeah, I mean, it's an awkward situation, that, but I can't see anything changing too much.
So I didn't give Russia any kind of consideration for coming into this year at all. So it does catch me by surprise, Tish, that it's coming back so soon. You're right.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to make much of a difference to like, Challenger will be open, or will it? Because
that's
they
what I
don't
was trying to
award
work
Russian
out.
cards anymore. So will they
open Challenger? Yeah, because they can't award Russian cards as prizes. So if Russia's the only Challenger league that's open, then, which it will be, will they even open it? They probably won't, right? It will have to go into All Star.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Didn't even think about that. But they won't have any Challenger rewards that week, right? By the way that they work, isn't it based on like
they might
the
pay
prize
out
pools available?
Yeah. They might pay out awards that aren't Russian cards, maybe, but
yeah, definitely possible.
That's the point. Are they still giving out Russian cards as rewards? I know they're not selling them, but are they giving them away? No.
I don't think they were doing anything with them whatsoever.
Makes sense, I guess.
I think some of them came out as rewards, like as that all kind of happened, and people got the chance to send them back for something else. I think.
Right.
I might have made that up, but I think that happened.
I guess some people be like politically just don't want anything to do with Russian football at the moment, which is understandable.
Well, even for the game, like Opta could just stop covering it.
Well, that was
that was what I was worried about in February and March. I was like, they could not be covered at all, so abandon ship. Yeah. Sorry.
That's it. UEFA already cut ties, so it's just too speculative, the whole thing,
I'm surprised that Opta weren't covering them.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I noticed that a lot of the betting companies don't allow you to even bet on the Russian football anymore.
Oh, really?
Like, they've stopped even like taking bets on Russian football. So when I saw that, I was the same. I'm like, well, Opta coverage is literally the only thing they've got left. And if Opta turn around and say, we're not covering, then there goes your SO5 utility.
Yeah, the cards are dead.
Maybe we can move them to Greece.
Yeah.
Get some Greece coverage.
Do you know what? We were saying this on the podcast, weren't we? Like, surely we get a few. I reckon the Greek football, Swedish football, I'm sure this season we're going to start seeing some of those. But someone published a sort of an image on Twitter in the week. I can't remember what user it was, but they wrote a blog about the top 20 leagues, like what they actually are and how many of them are covered at the moment. And in fact, all of the second tiers of the Champ Euro sides come under the top 20. So there was speculation about whether or not they will open up coverage on those, because obviously there's quite a few cards in those divisions now, when Championship in England is already covered. But there's nothing stopping them from covering League 2, Bundesliga 2, Serie B, La Liga 2. They've all got Opta coverage. I wonder if Sorare did a deal with La Liga, because they did one with Bundesliga, right? They've got the license to mint Bundesliga 2 already. That's already a done deal. And apparently Saint Etienne have also done a deal. So maybe we see second tier, and then what are they going to do with that? Put it into a new challenger league? I have no idea. But
yeah, I was just going to say it would be fantastic, but how big does challenger get before it gets separated?
Become a bit more challenging, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I would like the second divisions to all be classified as their own division. That would be great. And then you play those.
like
baby
Challenger Pro
champion.
or something.
You know, like if
Yeah.
you have them for a good season, you
Yeah.
then get a good champion team. Maybe if it's a good up and coming team, that is. Like you
I think
catch
like
the Swansea or whatever. You know,
it'll be really interesting to see what that did for like the value of teams that are getting maybe closer to the bottom of La Liga, because you'd be better off having a player that's going down a division than one that's sort of sitting like near the bottom end of the table but not close enough to get relegated into the lower tier. But then if you did have a player that went into the lower tier, you're actually not that bothered if they're still covered. Like Etienne Green, we've talked about so many times because I watched him get relegated. I would absolutely love if they covered League Two, because he'd be a beast. He'd be an absolute beast. He'd be better than he was in League One. Like, so yeah, my fingers are definitely crossed. I think I've got like Elias Cobort in Serie B doing big things at Parma as well. He got a contract there, which was a bit annoying. I was kind of hoping that maybe Anderlecht would sell him to someone else that was covered. But yeah, I've definitely got a few red crosses I'm hoping to shoo away in the next few months.
Shout out to
Surely.
the Monza stacks.
Yeah. I mean, they went up, didn't they? They made their way through.
There you go.
well, the Red Crosses I'm hoping go away is Saudi Arabia. If we could get some coverage over there, that would be magic.
True, yeah.
I've now got
There's
a goalkeeper and a striker.
It's a good point, though. If we get the Prem, then the teams down the bottom, like Norwich, for example, go down, back up all the time. That'd be amazing in the second division. Like the Championship's already covered, so if you've got a good team at the bottom of the Prem, you wouldn't be selling those cards. I'd imagine. You'd be holding on to them.
You just this is my challenger lot for next year.
Exactly.
I was just having a look because it's just reminded me of something else a friend of mine spoke to me about. I think he saw Quinny speaking on in the week, actually, Quinny, that your Prem cards lost their bonus this week. So there was a lot of
Nellis's. I've not got any Prem cards left.
Oh, right. So Nellis, and I'm just having a look now. So Nellis noticed that his Prem cards lost their bonus, right? Is that right? Am I making that right?
The lost the season bonus.
I'm having a look now, right? And apparently they lost their bonus because they've gone unminted for 2 seasons or something, right? Is that what? Well, I'm looking at my cards now, and my Napoli cards still have 14% bonus. So, what does that make you think? Why have we lost like the Liverpool bonuses but not Napoli? Are we throwing a little like conspiracy theory out there now? Is that
were Napoli and Liverpool onboarded at the same time?
It was the same season. The cards are from the same season. They're from 2 seasons ago. But there were no Napoli cards this season, which means like all of those like Koulibaly's, Di Lorenzo's are like massively overpowered, like 14% bonus I've got on mine. But my Liverpool ones seem to be missing now. Let me have a little look and see if I've lost those bonuses on a Liverpool. Yeah, my Minamino bonus is back down. So why hasn't that happened to Napoli? Does that mean we're getting the Prem soon? Can we hope?
Oh,
because
we can always hope.
If it happened to, we can hope, right? Because if it happened to Napoli, if it had happened to Napoli as well, then we could say, oh well, that's a new rule change in effect. But I hope
it hasn't been officially explained, has it? So
yeah. Well, I hope I'm not going to nuke my Napoli scores next season via this podcast chat.
Sounds like they're not too far away from 10% anyway once they lose it. I think a lot of those things
will be all right. They'll still be all right, yeah. I'll take
pretty
that.
Tasty.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, guys, it's been a great episode. Good luck this game week. I know we've not got anything on in the midweek, but anything for the weekend these are putting out there, I hope you smash it. We don't have a challenge for this week, do we? Or will we do one? I don't know.
Maybe we should challenge Tony to actually send in the challenges that we've been waiting on from him. That's a challenge in itself, isn't it?
Throw down the gauntlet. So Jiba, thanks very much for joining us, subbing in for Tony. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a great episode, guys. Thanks very much. Great luck this game week.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Nice one, guys.